The NFL offseason right this moment is way more intriguing to me than the conference championship games.
Yes.
I haven't thought about the conference championship games hardly at all, except to think, oh, I haven't thought about the conference championship games yet.
Do you think some of that is a defense mechanism? We talked about the Kubler-Ross 5 stages of grief. Could it be that you were actually still in the first stage, denial?
No. That does happen to me in baseball. I mean, partly in baseball, I just lose interest.
Yeah.
I'm just pretty damn interested in the playoffs, even after the Texans are eliminated in the wild card round every year. Mm-hmm. But I usually pay attention to the conference championships more. This is the first morning I really consciously thought about, oh, yeah, we should probably start breaking these games down, I guess.
Well,
I don't care about the only thing I care about is the Seahawks, really.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so there's a little bit of denial with the Patriots because Drake May is obviously a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm a little bit of denial about them. But they're not they're facing Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah, I think it's possible to be in two stages at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, I think you could be in denial about certain things. I've accepted certain things, you know. I think at the end of the day, the thing that I'm still processing here is why did C.J. Stroud throw 4 interceptions in the most important game in franchise history?
It was a horrible decision from a career standpoint.
It was a bad choice by him.
You know, I don't. If you could go back in time and say, you know what, today I'm not going to throw 4 interceptions. I think that would be a better look for both the team and myself.
Yes.
Then, I mean, it's just these are the things you learn as a young athlete.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? 4 interceptions is not the road for me.
Oh, my
okay?
God. Oh, my God. Yeah, the other thing, too, and we'll get into this later in the show, the other reason the offseason's so intriguing is that the head coaching carousel is about as interesting as it's been in a long time because the very first 2 hires were 2 guys that got fired within a week before getting their new jobs. Mm-hmm. The fact that John Harbaugh and evidently Kevin Stefanski, very highly thought of because he got a job right away, John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, and Sean McDermott are both out there. I mean, McDermott's out there. Tomlin is sort of out there, I guess, if you wanted to trade for him. He quit. He didn't get fired. But you've got these owners, I should say, Seth, and we'll play this audio later. You've got these owners that are trying to justify to the media why they kept their GMs. Like the whole Pagula thing in Buffalo yesterday was fascinating. And Jimmy Haslam did the same thing with Andrew Berry like 2 weeks ago when they fired Stefanski but kept Andrew Berry. Remember, Jimmy Haslam did that long monologue at the beginning of the press conference where he signed a kicker who was above average last year, and he signed Malik Collins, and this is why we keep this guy here.
Yeah.
There's some really interesting soap opera drama going on that I, as a Texan fan, I would normally be somewhat ambivalent towards, but it's just such good theater.
The Bills press conference was. I've read 3 long-form articles about the Bills press conference already by people up in Buffalo about just how weird not it was, mostly because the owner just kept jumping in. Terry Pagula just kept jumping in. Was simultaneously blaming the officials for the loss in the divisional round because of the Brandon Cooks stripped catch, but at the same time also citing the loss as the reason that Sean McDermott was fired.
Yes.
So people are like, so what? With a good call, then Sean McDermott still has his job. Well, I'm not getting into all.
We'll get into it later. We've got all that audio. We'll do it later in the show. So Nick Cacerio met with the media yesterday, and we'll get into some of the stuff about the offense. About C.J. Stroud. 7 o'clock today, Seth and I are going to kind of go win probability style on C.J. getting an extension based on Nick Caserio's answers yesterday about C.J., extensions, how he played, turnovers.
This is what I worried about as I was going through and kind of rewatching it yesterday. Man, I feel like depending on which clip they see of Nick Cacerio talking about C.J. Stroud, you could either think, oh, he's 100% getting an extension, or he's 100% going to get traded tomorrow.
Yeah.
Cacerio was both, I think, appropriately critical of C.J. Stroud for his performance in the game, but multiple times also basically endorsed C.J.'s career so far and pointed out, and I think gave a loftier assessment of C.J. Stroud's season than he had than I think most people would.
Yeah.
And it was hard to say. At any given time, you might have thought, oh, yeah, They're definitely gonna try to get rid of him. Or wow, they love him. They're gonna give him a 10-year contract.
Yeah,
they're gonna give him a baseball style contract.
It was very up and down. At the end, in the end, which is a phrase Nick used about 15 times yesterday. In the end,
the love you give.
In the end, the love you take. I think he handled the whole CJ topic pretty well. I think he was appropriately critical, and I think he was appropriately loyal to CJ yesterday. But I don't know where to land on the whole.
There were really two things that stood out as far as the game itself. Was basically he was blaming the game on CJ really multiple times. Cacerio said, it's the quarterback's number one job to mitigate risk.
Yep.
You can't turn the ball over. And then multiple times said, basically, you can't win a game when you turn the ball over 4 times. Like, so 80% of that is on CJ.
Yes.
20% is on Woody Marks.
That's right.
And then he also pointed to technique breakdowns in the secondary.
Yeah.
That each of those touchdown passes had guys playing with the wrong leverage. So, that's what we were concerned about going into that game was breakdowns in coverage technique or blown coverages. So, beyond that, they're really it's hard to judge one way or the other exactly how they feel about the sum total of CJ and how much they might be more concerned than he let on yesterday about the fact that he had 2 bad playoff games in a row. Because Nick was only talking about the Patriots game. He didn't really talk about the Steelers game.
No, you're right about that. Okay, so let's get into some of the Cacerio. This is basically the one, I would say, the biggest news item to come from the Nick Cacerio press conference. The one thing that's just it's not opinion, is that it looks like Nick Caley will be back for another year as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I would anticipate Nick being here next year. I think Nick learned a lot. First opportunity as a play caller. I'd say offensively, probably the last 2 to 3 months of the year, played pretty good football and did a lot of good things. Improvement. There's always areas that we can improve and get better, and that's what D'Amico mentioned the other day. This next couple weeks right after the season is kind of looking at everything, go through the coaching staff, go through other aspects of the staff. Is there anything that we have to do? All right, then we'll look at some things schematically, start to go through the self-scout, try to figure out, all right, what are some of the things that we did well? We know kind of where we are as a team, and I think sometimes when you're working on one side of the ball, you maybe see it through one lens. Sometimes when you're on the opposite side of the ball, you see it through a different lens. And I'd say the rapport amongst the staff's really good, so we can communicate honestly and openly with each other. So it says a lot, and honestly, it speaks to who D'Amico is. So that's what we're going through right now. So, yeah, I would anticipate Nick being here, next year. And all of us are just trying to improve and do what we can to make the team and the organization better.
I think we're on staff watch now on the offensive side.
And, when Nick says I would anticipate him being here, I was trying to read too much into that. It's our job to read too much into things.
Yep.
He did go on to explain at more length about how they do kind of an internal evaluation of each other. The defense looks at the offense looks at the defense.
That was really interesting. That's the first time he's told that story.
Well, that's I told you about that company Afterburner yesterday that does like the former military people who consult with businesses. They call it red teaming, which is going back to the Cold War days. You have a red team that looks at your game plan or looks at your mission plan and kind of shoots holes in it, tries to figure out what's wrong and everything. So I think that's a little bit of retroactive red teaming there.
Yeah.
Which I like, but I also like the dynamic. What if he's like, I'll tell you what, Nick Caley really botched this whole thing.
He was
man.
horrendous.
He shot you up full of holes.
And it'd be
he went
great.
down in flames before he barely got off the runway.
And it would be great if he did that, not so much for football reasons, because like Caley stole his lo mein out of the fridge in the coach's room or something like that.
He's got a grudge against him. Burke's watching this offensive film with a sneer.
Oh, I'm going to get him. So it looks like Caley will be back. How do you feel about that, Nick Caley being back for another year?
I'm cool with it. I think he did show growth. I thought – Nick's assessment of the offense, I thought, was a little
generous,
more positive. Generous is the right word. I think, at one point, Jonathan Alexander was saying, the offense didn't make huge improvements, and Nick got a little testing and said, wins are the only thing that matters. And I'm like, yeah, but there's things that go into it.
Okay,
I mean, like Nick spoke at length about turnovers. Like, okay, let's talk about turnovers in the Steelers game or any other. Like, yeah.
If wins are the only thing that matters, then C.J. Stroud should get a big contract extension this offseason. And I'm being serious right now.
Yeah.
If wins are the only thing that matters, then C.J. Stroud should get a big contract extension. He's won more games his first 3 seasons as an NFL quarterback than practically every other quarterback in the history of the game.
Yeah,
I
know you're being.
You seem no,
right.
no. I'm not being like I'm like if I'm just using. No, I'm not saying CJ.
You're not saying that.
I'm not saying give CJ an extension. I'm saying logic dictates. If you're Nick and you're just evaluating the offense based on wins, which he did in an answer yesterday, like you just said, logic dictates that's all that matters. Then you should go ahead and pay CJ Stroud. He was the quarterback for all those wins. If the offense being good is dictated by the number of games that you won, not the number of touchdowns that you're scoring, then C.J. Stroud should get an extension. I'm not saying I would give him one. I'm saying the logic dictates that.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I disagree with Nick that the wins are the most important thing. That's what I'm saying. I think he was generous with the offense yesterday.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know. And honestly, if you're evaluating the quarterback, and Nick's not going to get up there and just, completely throw C.J. under the bus or anything, but he did. I mean, He made multiple points about how ball security is the only thing that matters. The offense was really good this year in terms of not turning the ball over.
They were.
But the different performance in the playoffs, and not just one game, but in the playoffs, and how sloppy CJ was with the football, when you combine that with the fact that he was notably and verified by statistics skittish after his concussion, that's a big hurdle. That's not something like, oh, that kid needs a haircut or something and then I'll like him. Is this a potential barrier and something that should prevent me from giving somebody $250 million?
Right.
That's a big deal.
Right.
And I don't think CJ can answer that question until he gets out and plays a few games next year.
Yep.